Ugh, Ralph, do I have to do the intro? I know the kids love it, but you guys seriously do not pay me enough to read this stupid script every shift. It's like $4 an hour. Ugh, fine, but you're cleaning the bathrooms for me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza's Candy Bunny 5,000 subscriber special. Sit back and relax with a slice of extra cheesy pizza and enjoy free refills when you purchase our limited edition Freddy Faz Cup. Now please welcome to the stage the star of our show, Candy Bunny, as they ramble about Ultimate Custom Night for over an hour. Thank you. Ultimate Custom Night gave voice to the voiceless, personality to the personalityless, and lore to me. I will never get a score of 9,800, but I will revel in its lore implications for as long as my cognition serves me. However, those of us who can't beat 50/20 mode can still do one thing: get jump scared by every character. And if you're no Chicken Ninja or Astral Spiff, fear not. Lore reveals are accessible to those of us willing to die over and over again. Because most of the characters have voice lines, some with lore implications, and some that are Toy Freddy. I'm Candy Bunny, and here are my thoughts on every voice line and character appearance in Ultimate Custom Night. Every single one. I'm going to be evaluating lines on how much I like the voice acting, the line itself, and the lore implications, if any. And I will be sprinkling micro theories in on what some seemingly throwaway lines may tell us about the lore. Yes, this includes Mr. Hippo. Yes, this includes Toy Chica's high school years. Yes, this includes the Bear of Vengeance. No, this doesn't include the phone guy lines. We've been talking about those lines for 10 years. Let's do this! Oh wait, first, in case you don't know, Ultimate Custom Night is viewed as being the last game in the first narrative arc of FNAF. You can play classic FNAF-style gameplay against almost any or all of the characters in the franchise so far. As for story and lore, well, that's what we're here to talk about, because character voice lines is how Scott delivered 98% of the lore in this game, and you're about to hear every bit of it. Starting off weak with the main three, the original Freddy, Buunny, and Chica. They've got no lines except for the jump scare screech, which I get. Most of these other characters, you can just give them any line and it's alright. Like, no one's getting up in arms and having an impassioned debate about if Rockstar Freddy's voice was true to his in-game depictions. But the main cast, you want those to be perfect. The fans have been headcanoning what they sound like since day one. The pressure was on, and Scott didn't seem ready to commit yet. I get it. Foxy.
Arg, you never stood a chance!
I love classic Foxy's voice. He's exactly how he should sound.
Arg, never underestimate the cunning of a pirate. Or a fox, for that matter.
Yes. Love the yahahahar. No lore there, though.
Arg, I came for ye booty. That be treasure, you know.
Okay, you know what? When there's no lore and my thoughts can be encapsulated by what I've already said about the characters' lines, I'm gonna hold off on the comments, or this video will get really annoying, and you'll leave before the cool parts with Mr. Hippo and Sexy Toy Chica and Anime FNAF.
I can't run like I used to, but I can pull myself apart just fine.
This line does raise some questions for me. Ultimate Custom Night Foxy can't run like he used to? Why? Freddy's mechanics are about the same as FNAF 1 Freddy, so it's unlikely this is about like the follow me disassembling or anything that happened to all the originals. Why can't this version of Foxy run? But this might just be more of a quip to remind you how the character mechanic works, sort of like a death screen tip meant to help you not die in the same way twice.
Arr, so much more spacious in here. I may stay a while.
For a moment, I thought this might reveal Foxy the animatronic, or the spirit inside of him in FNAF 1 feels confined because of the small space of Pirate's Cove. But I think it's likely this is just Ultimate Custom Night Foxy saying it's cramped because he shares Pirate's Cove with Buunny in this game. Overall, I love the voice acting. I love the writing because of the yars and hars and such, and there's minimal lore to be found here.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night.
Phone guy. He's got lines aplenty, but they're not unique. We've heard them all before and in other games, and they're long, and we've got Mr. Hippo, Toy Chica's high school years, and Anime FNAF to cover before the end. So I'll just skip and say, iconic voice. It never gets old. And thank goodness, because you listen to it all the time when you make FNAF lore videos. Up next, we have selectable characters from FNAF 2. Toy Freddy. To be clear, I don't have a problem with his voice, as in I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It was a unique direction with the character, he had no personality and now he has one. Toy Freddy is not a very important character, so the fans weren't banking on him sounding cool or creepy, and the voice is funny enough. That said, his voice drives me crazy.
That game was totally rigged!
Toy Freddy, do you know how many times I've lost a FNAF game because I have fundamentally no skill? Many. Do you know how many times I've rage quit? Never. And you get killed one time by the vacuum and you come crying to me.
That's what you get for leaving me hanging. It's not my fault. I have these fat plastic fingers and can't press with buttons.
There's a reason why everyone picks this line when they put a Toy Freddy voice line in a video. It's the funniest and the least annoying.
Mr. Hubs got me again. If I get jump scared, you get jump scared.
Toy Freddy, I swear I will slap you. Toy Bonnie's got no lines here, but spoiler alert, he does sort of get the Toy Freddy treatment when he gets his voice in FNAF AR. That annoying personality, but it's low stakes, so you don't really care. Toy Chica. I think doing a malicious version of Toy Chica's voice from FNAF World was a great way to go with the character. But that doesn't necessarily mean I enjoy hearing it over and over again. I never mind the first half, but in every line she has a second part to it where her voice gets even more malicious, and it always sounds so weird to me.
You won't get tired of dying, will you?
Do you see what I mean? When she says, you won't get tired of dying, it's not so bad. But then she says, will you? And it just gets less cool.
Where's my beak? Lodged in your forehead, of course.
This one goes back and forth because it's iconic, but I do not like the way she says of course. And of course, how can you play this line without mentioning that it's a reference to how in FNAF 2, Toy Chica takes off her beak when she comes hunting for you. And then in FNAF 4, Between Night minigames, the Toy Chica figurine also has its beak popped off. And Scott drew special attention to it through a hint on his website. Some have said this line could be telling us the answer to the hint on that website, and others have said it could be telling us that Toy Chica did the bite of 87. But personally, I've always thought it was just a quip with no lore implications.
You won't get tired of my voice, will you?
The sinister counterpart to FNAF World Toy Chica, and again with the weird will you at the end. But it's so much less annoying than the original from FNAF World, so it's getting a free pass.
Let's go somewhere more private, so I can eat you.
Actually, the giggling is pretty good. It's really eerie. It makes sense because, as the community clearly knows, Toy Chica's design is more appealing and feminine. And this line demonstrates that lure you in and then eat ya attitude like a siren.
Now I get to play take apart and put back together. You won't feel a thing.
Mangle. I like the female voice a lot, and I don't like the male voice as much. Mangle can be kind of hard to understand, but the concept is really cool. 2 heads, 2 voices.
Don't be afraid. Soon you will look just like me. Beautiful.
Yes, Mangle, that's self-love. Let's go.
I wanted to wait until just the right moment to drop in. It's so much more fun to eat out in here with you.
These lines, especially with the 2 puns, paint Mangle as being very good-natured. They make jokes, they reassure the victim it won't hurt, they think they're beautiful. This is sort of surprising to me. I always thought of Mangle as a tragic victim, like the toys in the toddler area in Toy Story. But it seems like Mangle is very much at peace with their situation, and I love them for that. I love their attitude, and I love their personality, and I love their gimmick. They're pretty good.
He's here and always watching. The one you shouldn't have killed.
And here we have the first line isn't a quip, a play on a character's story, or gameplay in old games, but something new. Someone is here and always watching. Someone that the player shouldn't have killed. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. The FNAF community and I believe the ultimate custom night player is William Afton, the purple guy, the child murderer. Either barely alive, trapped in a nightmare coma, or dead and being tormented in the afterlife by this character, the one you should not have killed, who we call the Vengeful Spirit. Several other voice lines will reference the one you shouldn't have killed. This Vengeful Spirit is one of Afton's victims, who is in some way orchestrating this nightmare torment on Afton because they hate him and want him to suffer. In the Fazbear Fright story, The Man in Room 1280, Scott retells Ultimate Custom Night from a different perspective. A man who is clearly Afton is comatose in a hospital, covered in burns and should be dead, but instead is being kept alive in agony by the spirit of a small boy in an alligator mask. That boy is named Andrew, and he reveals at some point he can't remember why he hates Afton, but he knows all he wants is for him to suffer. The community is very split on if this is Ultimate Custom Night itself or a retelling of it, so it remains up to your interpretation if Ultimate Custom Night takes place in the comatose mind of Afton or in some kind of afterlife for his soul. We'll hear much more about the player and the Vengeful Spirit as more characters talk. Balloon Boy and JJ. Aw, they don't say the hello or the hi. Very sad. We call Balloon Boy BB sometimes, so I always think of JJ and DD as Jaloon Joy and Daloon Doy. Anyways.
I never thought I'd make it through that vent, but now we are together.
I like Withered Chica's voice. Very unsettling. Sounds like a Chica with a broken voice box.
Come closer. Let's smile together. Let me show you how to break your face and look like me.
I like the way she says, break your face.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
What can I say? Iconic. And divisive. Was Chica the first animatronic character? The first of the MCI killed? The first victim of Afton? The first child to move on? Chica is also the first grave you have to hit in a certain order in Help Wanted 2 Graveyard. I spoke in my last video that I think Chica is the first of Afton's intentional murders, but there's room for many interpretations here.
I have seen him. The one you shouldn't have killed.
Another reference to the vengeful spirit. This one doesn't have a lot to tell us, just that whether Chica has seen them. One thing that is worth noting is that Chica refers to the one you shouldn't have killed as a him, but the community does not universally accept that as the gender of the vengeful spirit. This is going to be the fastest summary of who is the vengeful spirit debate ever. If this is your first time hearing of it, I strongly advise you to watch some other videos on the subject so you can hear the evidence laid out in more depth. If you believe the Fazbear Frights is showing us the same Ultimate Custom Night in The Man in Room 1280, this is a boy with black hair named Andrew. Those who believe Fazbear Frights and the games are different continuities mostly believe that this is a victim from one of William's first killings, the missing children's incident of FNAF 1, named Cassidy. The names of the MCI victims were revealed in the ending of FNAF 6 via this end screen, but the final gravestone was covered and unreadable. The name Cassidy was revealed as the missing grave name through a puzzle in the security logbook, which came out a year after FNAF 6 and 6 months before Ultimate Custom Night. The FNAF graphic novels, which take place in an alternate universe, have their own version of the MCI. Some of the children are the same and some are different, and there is a girl named Cassidy who is described as having long black hair, but is depicted with brown for some reason. So maybe it's the same Cassidy, since Susie is the same between the novels and the books. But here in Ultimate Custom Night, the vengeful spirit was just called a him. So in this timeline, Cassidy is a boy, right? Well, maybe. Many think that this image of a little girl with black hair being handed a cake in the security logbook is Cassidy, referencing the puppet giving the happiest day cake to the spirit inside Golden Freddy. So then Cassidy is a girl, right? But the image that can faintly appear in Ultimate Custom Night to represent the vengeful spirit is this, which looks like a boy. So Cassidy is a boy, right? But the voice that we hear in Ultimate Custom Night whisper behind some of the other voice lines, we'll hear it soon, sounds like a girl's voice. So Cassidy's a girl, right? But the listing for the voice lines when Scott was looking for the voice actor said it should sound like a girl or a boy. The answer to me seems to be that Scott wanted it to be ambiguous. If you think Cassidy is a girl, you can explain away the use of he, him pronouns because it sometimes happens in FNAF that the spirit of a child in an animatronic is referred to not by their gender in life, but by the gender of their animatronic character. And the vengeful spirit is in the Fredbear suit, which is a male character. And finally, some people think the vengeful spirit is neither Andrew nor Cassidy, but Mike, William Afton's oldest son. And if you want to know more about that theory, you will want to watch Dual Process Theory's T-Posing Golden Freddy video. I call the vengeful spirit Cassidy, not Andrew right now. If you are an Andrew believer, the character analysis of the vengeful spirit in this video is still relevant. After all, a rose by any other name can still be as vengeful. Alright, on to Withered Bonnie.
I may miss my face, but even I could see his tongue.
Face puns time! Withered Bonnie has a sense of humor for sure.
Time to face the consequences of your behavior. Might as well face the facts. You were always destined to fail. You blinked.
I don't know why, but I've always loved this line.
What is this new prison? Is it me trapped, or is it you? Perhaps it is us both.
One of my favorite of the lore reveal lines, not just because of the delivery, but because of the meaning. We'll hear a lot of lines throughout that talk about the vengeful spirit and about Afton's punishment, but Withered Bonnie is one of the only characters that gives us a glimpse into what is happening with all the other characters. Is the vengeful spirit the only one that truly didn't move on after the fire? Or are the others here to torment Afton as well? It all comes down to how you interpret this line and who is saying it. Is the Withered Bonnie animatronic saying it's trapped here with Afton, or is it one of the spirits? I think our next character can help us figure out which it is.
Seeing you powerless is like music to me.
The marionette. I love the puppet's voice here. It's perfectly innocent yet eerie. It fits the vibe of both the puppet animatronic and the spirit of Charlie, who's possessing the puppet.
The others are like animals, but I am very aware.
This line is a repetition of Phone Guy's advice in the FNAF 2 phone calls when he says the puppet is always thinking. This line also makes us ask, who's talking here? Because it sure doesn't seem like the security puppet. It sounds like the spirit. The spirit inside the puppet has always been characterized as being more aware of the situation of the spirits, whereas the other MCI victims may not even fully realize they're dead. But wait, what if instead of Charlie, the spirit inside the puppet, saying this line, it's the vengeful spirit using the puppet's voice box? Other characters we will soon see sometimes have their voice box taken over by the vengeful spirit, but the next puppet line puts an end to that idea pretty quick.
I don't hate you, but you need to stay out of my way.
Whatever spirit is talking, they just said they don't hate the player, and the vengeful spirit's one characterization is that they hate Afton and want him to suffer. This is Charlie speaking, which means Charlie, as Withered Bonnie said, is trapped here in Ultimate Custom Night as well.
I recognize you, but I'm not afraid of you. Not anymore.
Some people believe that when the puppet says they're aware, it means that they've been aware the whole series that the night guards they attack are innocent people, and therefore the puppet is the most evil of them all. Because while other spirits are very aggressive, it's generally understood that they're very confused and angry spirits, but the puppet is aware and killing innocents intentionally. However, I think this line is actually the puppet finally recognizing who Afton really is. When the puppet says they're aware, it means that they understand that they're dead and can act in a more calculated way, but it doesn't mean that they can remember who their killer is. Charlie may not have even known who her killer was, because she was killed at a young age on a dark, rainy night. But here in Ultimate Custom Night, she now knows it's Afton.
The others are under my protection.
Man, there is so much to talk about with the puppet's lines. This line presents me with yet another puzzle. A surface level reading says, this is the puppet saying to Afton that they protect the other spirits. But then you wonder a little, because this line is said to Afton, who is dead and actively being tormented. The others were under her protection. Does Afton still pose some threat for them? Perhaps Charlie is trying to protect the other spirits still trapped in Ultimate Custom Night from the vengeful spirit, who's trying to use them to enact vengeance at the expense of their peace. Or perhaps I'm reading into this line too deeply, and it's just meant to affirm that the puppet is the protective spirit that we've believed ever since Give Gifts, Give Life. Golden Freddy has no lines, but his counterpart Fredbear does, so we'll talk about them in the non-selectable characters section. On to FNAF 3. Springtrap. No lines. And according to the FNAF Ultimate Custom Night fandom wiki, Springtrap doesn't have a dialogue when killing the player. However, he can make moaning sounds, as previously heard in FNAF 3, as well as the garble that plays when William Afton dismantles an animatronic in the FNAF 3 minigames. I will say more on how odd it is he doesn't talk when we talk about Scraptrap. Phantom Mangle, Phantom Freddy, Phantom BB. No lines for the Phantoms. There are some characters who went unvoiced who I would really have loved to have a voice, but the Phantoms are fine just as they are. FNAF 4. Nightmare Freddy.
No light can save you now.
Okay, Edgelord, tone it down a bit. This voice feels pretty spot on to me. This is definitely Freddy's voice if it was just designed to be horrifying.
What a gift to relish, a victim that can't perish.
Banger! I quote this all the time. Someone will be like, here, have a mint, and I'll be like, what a gift to relish, a mint that cannot perish. This is actually one of my favorite lines in Ultimate Custom Night.
I am given flesh to be your tormentor.
Oh my gosh, there's a reason why this video is so long. Ultimate Custom Night touches on every major mystery in the franchise. This one I'm actually going to keep short, unlike the Vengeful Spirit name debate where I said I would keep it short and then I didn't. Nightmare Freddy comes from the nighttime gameplay segments of FNAF 4, which appears to be a child in their room warding off horrific and toothy versions of Freddy's characters. Every lore interpretation of FNAF 4 believes there is something going on that is more than meets the eye. This isn't just a child in their bedroom afraid of the monsters under their bed, or rather on top of it, but it's a child in a coma dreaming about their childhood fears, or a child in a bunker being experimented on with fear gas, or a grown-up at night dreaming about when they were a child in the bunker being experimented on with fear gas, or a child in their bedroom being attacked by mannequins that are using illusion technology to make them appear terrifying. In every interpretation, Afton built the FNAF 4 animatronics to induce fear, but didn't actually make them look like this. Either nightmare gas or illusion technology is making the victim perceive them as looking like this. But this Ultimate Custom Night Freddy is saying, I am given flesh. This nightmarish image of Freddy used to only exist in the mind of a child, but has been made real by the Vengeful Spirit to torment Afton. How do I know the Vengeful Spirit has made them real?
I am remade, but not by you, by the one you should not have killed.
Thank you, Nightmare Freddy, for saying it so plainly. And finally,
I have always been hiding in your shadow.
what? Nightmare Freddy has been hiding in Afton's shadow? Is this supposed to be a pun about how the nightmares only exist in the shadows of Afton's house or bunker? Because normally when you say you live in someone's shadow, it means you believe their accomplishments outshine your own. Could this perhaps be the character of Freddy saying that Freddy lives in the shadow of Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, since William had more of a hand in Fredbear's Family Diner? I don't think so, since Henry designed those suits. Maybe it is just a pun, but this is one of those lines that sort of drives me crazy wondering what it might mean. So, you know, solve it for me in the comments. That would be amazing. Nightmare Bonnie. No lines, which is a shame. I love all of the voiced Bonnies in this game, so I wouldn't have minded another one. Nightmare Fredbear.
I assure you, I am very real. This time, there is more than an illusion to fear.
Nightmare Fredbear has lines just like Nightmare Freddy that once again confirmed that the FNAF 4 Nightmare animatronics weren't quite real before, but they're very real and able to hurt Afton here.
Let's see how many times you can be pulled apart.
Hold up, what's that little voice behind Nightmare Fredbear's? Is that the vengeful spirit? Or is it the crying child? Or is it just an audio effect?
We know who our friends are, and you are not one of them.
And this sounds like one of the last things the crying child heard before dying. We are still your friends.
Let me put you back together, then take you apart all over again.
And this sounds like the very last thing the crying child heard. I will put you back together. Is the crying child here too? Are we hearing their voice through Nightmare Fredbear? I think not, and here's my train of thought for why. I believe that the spirit of the crying child was not set to rest at the same time as the others. I believe the crying child is set free in FNAF 3's Happiest Day, but Afton's other victims were not set free at the same time. The other spirits may be stuck in this new prison, but not the bite victim. And more than that, the crying child doesn't possess Nightmare Fredbear. None of the nightmares are possessed. How could the crying child be speaking through him? So then what is this higher, more childlike voice behind Nightmare Fredbear's? I wish I knew anything about audio so I could try to isolate it, but this voice doesn't sound quite like the other spirits we hear directly from in Ultimate Custom Night. We heard Charlie speaking clearly and directly through the puppet, and I believe that it is Charlie's voice and not the puppet animatronic, because the puppet animatronic is male and the voice is a young girl speaking. We're also very soon going to hear the whispers of the vengeful spirit themselves, and that voice comes through very clear as well. But the voice behind Nightmare Fredbear's has a more robotic effect to it. This leads me to believe that the voice behind the nightmare is not the real bite victim, but perhaps a replication. This could be the vengeful spirit trying to torment Afton with the sound of his own child, like how Circus Baby uses Elizabeth's voice in Sister Location Custom Night. Or maybe it's just a cool effect. Nightmare.
You will not be spared. You will not be saved.
I love Nightmare's voice, but I don't love the breaths between the lines. Is he asthmatic? Is that lore?
The shadow fears me.
Another shadow line from a nightmare. I should mention that when Game Theory and the community were trying to solve the story of FNAF 4, Scott posted hints about the game on his website, and one of them was, what is seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. So the word shadow is very associated with that game, which I always found sort of funny, because none of the actual shadow animatronics are in FNAF 4.
I am your wickedness, made of flesh.
And now we have another nightmare, reminding us that they're real this time. What's interesting is that the other Nightmare animatronics have their real-world animatronic counterparts, but not Nightmare. He looks like Nightmare Fredbear, who is of course a counterpart to Fredbear, except he's black and slightly translucent, and we can see the endoskeleton underneath. I believe Nightmare's dark design and this line that he's the embodiment of Afton's wickedness means that he is an Agony creation, because this video wasn't long or weird enough. I had to bring Agony into it. Agony in FNAF is often hailed as being the most convoluted lore device, but I've always thought of it as pretty standard ghost stuff, to be honest. It's that classic, something horrible happened here that was so bad that the person it happened to can't be put to rest and is haunting the place. Some spirits can't move on just because they don't know how, or they have unfinished business, but some spirits in FNAF are trapped in their agony. They specifically can't find peace because they're held back by an intensely negative feeling at their death, like fear or pain. The Nightmare animatronics always represented how the FNAF 4 player perceives the animatronics, as terrifying monsters. But Nightmare himself, I believe, is how the FNAF 4 player perceives Fredbear after the horror of the bite. The memory, even the memory of the nightmare, is tainted by agony. This connection mostly comes from the design decision to make Fredbear a translucent black. Items infected with agony are often depicted as being black or dripping with black.
I'm here to claim what is left of you. I will vomit you back to relieve your horror.
These next two lines confirms to us that Afton is having to relive the nightmare of Ultimate Custom Night every time he dies. He plays this game over and over again, just like we who are bad at FNAF do. Prepare for the horrors, this night will keep repeating over and over and over until you make it to the end. Except there is no end for Afton, only judgment and punishment. Nightmare Mangle has no lines. Nightmare Own.
Nightmare is just beginning.
This is the first voice I don't really like. Why is it nothing like the puppet? Also, what's the stuttering in these lines? Is it meaningful or is it just a creepy effect? It's a shame because he's sort of the face of Ultimate Custom Night and I just don't vibe with it.
This is a nightmare that you won't wake from. This time, death cannot save you.
As I mentioned before, it is a question whether Afton is dead and being tormented in the afterlife, or comatose and being tormented on the verge of death. This line to me is a point towards him being already dead, because if he was comatose, then death could save him.
Let's taste death again and again and again.
Like Nightmare, I can't stand the weird breaths. It's supposed to sound creepy, but it just kind of makes him sound out of breath.
reflection of what you have created.
This is another mystery line to me. Nightmare Ione is a fearful reflection of what Afton has created. Afton didn't create the puppet. That was definitely Henry. But in a sense, Afton did create the puppet because he killed Charlie, who possessed the puppet. And Afton does call the possessed animatronics his creations at some points. Like Dr. Frankenstein, he believes he's created some alternate form of life and deserves to take credit for it. I think that's what this line means. The Nightmare Ione is a fearful reflection of the possession of the puppet. Nightmare BB.
Come closer. Help me count my teeth.
Okay, I'm not a huge fan of Nightmare BB's voice, as in it's not fun to listen to, but it sounds just right for the character. If I heard it for the first time and somebody asked me whose voice that was, I would be like, oh, that's definitely Nightmare BB.
You're not so big. Just a bite-sized morsel.
I either think this is the funniest line in the game or the worst. Absolutely no in between.
You knew I'd get you eventually. Flash that light all you want. It can't save you now. There just isn't room in here for both of us.
The line, whatever. The laugh, really good and creepy.
Did things get really hot in here, or is it just me?
Jacko Chica has some hellish fury in her voice. She sounds angry when she speaks. I like it. I didn't have strong feelings about the character, but I like it.
Come and burn with me. I am a burning reminder of your misdeeds.
This one goes kinda hard. I should say misdeeds in conversation more often.
The fire within me burns eternal, and now you shall as well.
Now this line is very hell and judgment coded to me. As I mentioned a bit ago, Afton is either being kept on the verge of death in a hospital or is dead and is being tormented in the afterlife. For those who believe Fazbear Frights is in the same continuity as the games, this answer is easy. Coma, done. I believe at the moment that they're different continuities, and I'm holding that opinion with an open hand as I continue theorizing because new evidence and old evidence reinterpreted can really change everything in this franchise. I believe Afton is entirely dead, and this is a purgatory every spirit is being kept in, and that the coma of Fazbear Frights shows us how Ultimate Custom Night could work in a different way. You guys know how alternate universes work. It's like how in the graphic novels they explain FNAF 4 nightmares with illusion discs, but then in Fazbear Frights they explain them with hallucinatory gas. It's the same story, but it's not, you know? And Jacko Chica's lines here are part of the reason why I think Afton is dead and not comatose. These are judgment words to Western ears. The Christian understanding of hell involves a lot of imagery around fire and heat. When Jacko Chica says Afton is going to burn eternal, that's a metaphor for hell.
Greetings from the fire, and from the one you should not have killed.
More Hellfire lines. I find great joy in how obsessed FNAF is with burning Afton. There are many ways to kill a man, and many ways to banish a spirit, but fire is used on Afton time and time again. In FNAF 3, Mike tries to burn him. In Pizzeria Simulator, Henry tries to burn him. Potentially the Fall Fest fire will be a burning of Afton again. And then in Security Breach, not Afton is once again set ablaze. Afton is characterized as being terrified of death, especially in the novels. At some point, he starts seeking for a way to live forever. I know FNAF fans come from all different religious backgrounds, and not all of us believe in a judgment or a hell. But I have always interpreted Afton's fear of death as springing not from a fear of being annihilated, but a fear of judgment. That is to say, Afton is not afraid of the black void of non-existence that those who believe there is no afterlife think there is at the end of life, but instead he's terrified that there is an afterlife, and he will finally be unable to escape the judgment for the horrible things he's done. Scott's decision to have every attempt to destroy Afton come in the form of fire is extremely poetic to that end. Over and over again, we are reminded that he may escape the fire, escape answering for his crimes for a while, but in the end, he will burn. Old Man Consequences is not voiced. There's just a text box that says, "Come and sit with me for a while. Leave the demon to his demons. Rest your own soul. There is nothing else." This is the best line in the whole game. And there are many great lines in Ultimate Custom Night, but nothing hits quite like Old Man Consequences telling the vengeful spirit to end their endless pursuit of punishing Afton and find peace. We see a lot of sympathy for Afton's victims throughout the story. Henry and Mike both seem to be very moved with pity for the crying child, for Charlie, and for the other MCI victims. They'd even give their life for them. But no sympathy really seems to be directed towards the vengeful spirit. They are little known by any but the other spirits. Before the Pizza Sim fire, they had taken on themselves the responsibility of destroying anyone who threatened the spirits and killing the killer. And in death, they have taken up the eternal pursuit of enacting judgment. To hear another voice calling to them quietly, saying, "Sit by me, you deserve peace and rest," It's heart-wrenching to me. This is a child so lost in their hurt and confusion, so hell-bent on their purpose that they are putting themselves and others through literal hell. Moments like these remind me of how genuinely good the story of FNAF is and how compelling these characters are. And further to my belief that Ultimate Custom Night takes place in the afterlife is the background audio of the Red Lake. This distorted sound effect when the audio is corrected is this. This is Afton calling out in torment for two people that he hated. He's calling out for the people who killed him to save him. That same proud Afton who came into the Pizzeria Simulator saying,
"That was easier than I thought it would be,"
is now begging to be saved from his fate, from the judgment of hell. Alright, let's start to lighten up the mood a little, because we've got to build the mood back up before we hit Toy Chica's high school years. Now for the sister location characters. Circus Baby.
I guess you forgot about me. I guess you forgot about me.
The voice was great for her in sister location, and it's great here. No notes on the voice.
Looks like something bad happened. Want to see the scooping room?
Interesting implications here that either Afton never saw the scooping process or Baby never knew that he saw the scooping process. It's pretty messed up that he designed that torturous scooper for his sentient creations and then never even witnessed how bad it was. But Laura.
Why do you hide inside these walls?
Very smooth, but I kind of wish she sang them.
I could hear you breathing.
Lovely, smooth, but why does she say breathing like it's some big reveal?
Admit it, you wanted to let me in. Don't be shy. These are strange circumstances that have brought us together.
Hold on, what? I did not remember this line. I go back and forth on Mrs. Afton-Ballora theory, but this feels like a point for Mrs. Afton. These are strange circumstances that have brought ex-husband and wife together. Doesn't really make sense for the Ballora animatronic to be saying that. Fun time Foxy. Yippee, the iconic voice! But seriously, this is one of the characters that they had to make a voice for, who had zero personality before, was low stakes so they could get creative, and they made it extremely gimmicky, except it worked out great here. An icon.
It seems you couldn't make it to my show, so I brought the show to you. Show times are on the hour, not a moment before and not a moment later. It's time to take your final bow. I'm sorry, but there was never enough room on this stage for both of us. A performance was demanded of me, and now I have delivered. Encore!
I just let them all play out because I got no notes. Entered. No lines. Did the Fun Times not think to put in any of their voice boxes when they fused up to make him? On to Pizzeria Simulator. Trash in the Gang. I genuinely have no thoughts on Trash in the Gang. I guess it's decent ASMR? FNAF ASMR? Peepaw Afton does your makeup. Soft spoken. Extreme tingles.
Psst, I have something to tell you. Hey, I want to tell you something. Psst, hey, over here. Get closer. Excuse me, can you come a little closer? Hey, down here. Hello, I wanted to ask you something. It's something really important.
Helpy, no lines. Music Man.
You and I will be making music together for a long, long time.
I consume a lot of FNAF content, and I have never heard one of these voice lines. Not in lore videos, not in Ultimate Custom Night Let's Plays, and not in challenge runs that I watch. It must be hard to die to Music Man or something. I like the funky little beat for sure. Elevates what is otherwise a decent voice.
A song was requested of me, and now I sing it. You hear that? It's the sweet, sweet sound of your eternal silence.
I like this line, because it is said to William Afton, and that man really does just need to pipe down sometimes.
What a deceptive calling. I knew it was a lie the moment I heard it, obviously, but it is intriguing nonetheless.
Like, bro, shut up and admit you fell for it. Music Man is spitting facts here.
Hey, keep it down, would ya?
This is the obligatory line that reminds you of the character mechanic and why you died.
When I'm here, you play by my rules.
This line didn't make much sense at the time of Ultimate Custom Night, but it tracks a lot with the DJ's personality and help wanted too. I think that's cool. El Chip, no lines for this guy. Funtime Chica.
Don't get distracted. Today is all about me.
Okay, this game tried giving a lot of characters a line like this. There's Happy Frog's "Move over, Freddy Fazbear," and Orville's "Now is my time to shine." It's this secondary character making a comment about how they're finally getting some screen time. But Funtime Chica is the one I think it actually looks good on. It makes sense with her mechanic of popping up as a distraction, and it makes sense with her design, which I always feel weird about acknowledging, and I think the voice acting really fits.
I'm ready for my close-up. Smile. Say cheese.
These 3 lines are odd because they're all about being photographed, which was not immediately obvious to me upon seeing the stills. And FNAF just doesn't have a lot about photographing. I don't know. Molten Freddy, 3 laughter tracks, and I think his laugh is iconic. Scrap Baby.
Time for your controlled shock. Time for your controlled shock.
So she didn't forget about the controlled shocks. The way she rolled up to Pizza Sim all, "I will make you proud, Daddy," I really thought she had. Also, I played these back to back because obviously they're the same line, but I like the second one better for sure. That "now it's your turn" vibe.
Let's see how many pieces I can cut you into.
At first I was like, this is just a throwaway line, but I'm thinking about it now and I realize it does reveal that her chainsaw claw arm thingamawop is very much a weapon that she uses, and probably how she kills you in Pizza Sim, which is neat. Glad it's not just cosmetic.
You won't die, but you'll wish you could.
I like this one a lot. I just like it. Scrap Trap / William Afton. Wait, what? Why is he in his own purgatory? I don't know, but the voice remains iconic. That gravelly, more pained version of PJ Haywood's original Afton lines? Lovely.
I always come back.
I mean, you gotta have it. It's the line. But it's very strange that Scrap Trap says it and Springtrap doesn't. Springtrap, like I said, only makes moaning noises. I've got a theory. A game theory. Because Springtrap didn't speak in FNAF 3. That's chill because Scott wasn't getting other voice actors besides himself at the time, and he found one eventually. Afton got his voice, but then the FNAF 3 Springtrap remains silent. I genuinely think something about the original spring locking made Afton unable to speak, and something about the damage that happened to the suit after the FNAF 3 fire, or maybe the repairs that he made to himself made him able to speak by the time he becomes Scrap Trap. Lefty. Dude, I really like Lefty's voice. It's spooky, scary ASMR puppet, and I love it.
Shh. It will all be over soon.
Yeah, just imagine if this was your first time being jump scared by Lefty, and for a moment you only heard the shh, and you thought that maybe they hadn't gotten any new lines, and then they kept going. I think that'd be neat. But the line itself, really good. As eerie as it is, this is basically Charlie saying that she's going to stop UCN from happening so they can all rest, and it's almost strangely comforting to Afton, which is a really cool direction to go with the character.
Shh. There is room for one more.
A good confirmation that the puppet is inside of Lefty if we needed it. We didn't, but I'm still grateful.
Shh. Come spend eternity inside with me.
This feels like a step backward from "It will all be over soon." So while I still love the voice, I'm less clear on the line itself.
Shh. I've been looking for you, and now I will never let you go.
Again, these two feel like very different Lefties speaking. Like it's the puppet who said "it will all be over soon," and then Lefty, the animatronic that captures the puppet and repeats its directive to capture and contain.
Shh. I'm so glad that I found you. Let me make room for you.
Rockstar Freddy.
Please deposit 5 coins.
Oh yeah, I love Rockstar Freddy's voice. This man is the embodiment of the Fazbear Company values. Shiny nickels.
Please deposit 5 coins. You are attempting to trick Freddy.
I love this one. Good effects here with the voice, and it always makes me laugh.
You are attempting to...
Freddy doesn't like this. Please deposit 5 coins.
Rockstar Buunny.
What a fine day to come here and say that your face and flesh I must play.
I don't care what anyone says. This is one of my favorite Buunny voices. That eerie crooner voice, it sort of reminds me of Griffinilla's Bonnie's mixtape song. I think with these lines, it's clear they were program songs that have their last line altered. Every one is 3 lines, with the last one being a twist. Here, let me show you what I mean.
So good to see you again, my truest friend. But now your life must end.
This is a song Buunny would sing on stage at a children's entertainment venue. So good to see you again, my truest friend. That's very Freddy's. All the characters, but Buunny and Freddy especially, have a theme of friendship built up. Fazbear wants people to think of the characters of Buunny and Freddy as friends with each other, and they want the kids to think of the characters as their friends as well. But then of course the last line is changed because as sketchy as Fazbear's is, they don't intentionally program the animatronics to sing about killing.
What a treat to come here and meet your face as it hits concrete.
It's a pity I don't like the tune to this one as much because it is objectively hilarious.
Why so blue? You know I'll be true, and now I'll make slippers out of you.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the most perplexing line in all of Ultimate Custom Night to me. Thank goodness it's not a lore line. What do you mean I'll make slippers out of you? That's not an expression. A lot of places have this quoted as I'll make slivers out of you, by the way, which makes equally little sense. What is so confusing about this line is that slippers is not the word that's rhymed with here. It just had to meet the syllable count, and I can think of so many words that make more sense. And now I'll make mincemeat out of you. And now I'll make a corpse out of you. And heck, even I'll make ribbons out of you would make more sense because cut to ribbons is a phrase. If this is a guitar pun or something, can someone please tell me? I just do not understand.
I found my guitar, now reach for the stars as I plunge it through your heart.
This is the iconic one for Rockstar Buunny in my opinion. Not as funny as face planting in concrete, but oh well, it's pretty good. Rockstar Chica.
That's right! And don't you come back now, you hear?
It's unique, and I liked that they took her voice more southern, since that's been a fan interpretation of Chica, but why does she sound like a grumpy old woman? So it's not one of my favorites, but it's memorable.
Thought you could fool me with that sign, but I was too smart for you. That'll teach you for trying to trick this old bird.
So she calls herself an old bird, and it's not just me. Why is this Chica canonically Grandma Chica? Or maybe Meemaw Chica? Is that what they call their grandparents down south?
I may not like wet floors, but the smell of fresh meat is just too enticing.
It was fine, until the too enticing. For some reason, that is just nails on a chalkboard to me.
Whoops, looks like you're the one that slipped up this time.
Alright, it's not too annoying, and it's a little joke. It didn't make me laugh, but it didn't make me hate her. Rockstar Foxy. It's my favorite Foxy voice. He's so polite, and he has a bird, and his bird has an eye patch. Whenever we get more Foxy variants again, I hope they give him a bird again. All the mainline band can have a variation with their little thing. Freddy has the Bonbon hand puppet, Buunny has his guitar, of course, and Chica has the cupcake, and then Foxy can have the bird.
Char, what can I do for ya?
Aw, thank you for asking. Why is he so polite? I love him.
Yarg, how may I be of service to ya?
Are you taking more crew onto your ship? I just know they have dental in a 401k match.
Yar, who touched me bird?
This one's a little deceptive because it sounds like it would be the one he says when you get jump scared. But no, you still get the favor for this one.
Yar, me bird likes you, so I'll do ye a favor.
Never mind that he said favor a little weird here. His bird likes me. It's like when you go over to someone's house and they say their dog or cat normally isn't this friendly and they must like you. Best feeling ever.
Yar, you win some, you lose some.
I'm not even mad I was jump scared. He's right, and he's so polite.
Yarg, ye play with fire and sometimes ye get burned.
So true, Rockstar Foxy. Man, I wish he had more lines. On to the mediocre melodies. A real highlight of Ultimate Custom Night. If you know, you know. Pig Patch. I know a lot of people think he's the most lackluster of all the mediocre melodies, but I love Pig Patch. I mean, come on. A banjo playing pig with heterochromia? I don't understand why he didn't go mainline, to be honest.
Even monkeys fall from trees.
His voice is nothing crazy, but it's unique, and it does sound to me like a pensive man sitting on a porch with his banjo and his iced tea, waxing philosophical, like Secondhand Lions if you've seen that movie. And then the banjo sting at the end? I love Pig Patch Man.
I consider it a dignified death. Not really, it was actually quite pathetic. If you sit by the river long enough, you will see the body of your enemy float by.
Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't like the chuckle all that much, but I immediately forgot about it because of the jaunty banjo riffs, so I don't mind.
The nail that sticks out gets hammered down.
This is fun. I just like the proverb. I hadn't heard it before because it's a Japanese proverb and I'm American. But it's like the antithesis of the American proverb, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I don't know, I think that's neat.
The talented hawk
hides his claws.
Ned Bear.
Stranger danger.
While his voice is a little annoying, it fits, and it reminds me of Goofy.
I was just waiting for you to drop your guard. Don't you hate getting killed by obscure secondary characters?
This one sort of made me laugh, to be honest.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark. This is how it feels, and you get to experience it over and over and over again. Forever. I will never let you leave.
Oh baby, this is why the Mediocres are such cool characters in Ultimate Custom Night. They have these goofy, silly lines, and then they'll have this one where their voice gets so sinister and they say something really disturbing to Afton. And behind their voice is this child whispering the same line. The Vengeful Spirit is taking over the voice box of the Mediocre Melodies to speak directly to Afton, and we can hear their voice too. I think these lines are so cool, super well written, well directed, and the voice actors for the Mediocres did a crazy good job with the voice. I mean, you hear Ned Bear say stranger danger, and you think, how could they possibly make this guy sound menacing? And then they do, and they nail it. It's so good. Happy Frog.
I bet you weren't expecting me, were ya? Turn your back for 1 second and I'm like, wazoo! Ninja skills.
Her voice is fine. It reminds me of if someone pitched up Mabel's voice from Gravity Falls.
You and I don't get to talk as often as I'd like.
There's a reason this line didn't trend like some of her others. The line itself, kind of forgettable. The delivery leans more towards obnoxious.
Everyone underestimates me, but then they turn their back and I'm like, boo! And they're like, what? Move over, Freddy Fazbear. Happy Frog is the new star of the show.
I don't mind the delivery, but it's sort of weird. It doesn't match the rest of her gimmick, and it sort of steals Toy Bonnie's gimmick in FNAF AR. She's also not the lead animatronic of her own band. Orville is. I don't know why she thinks she's the star of the show here.
We've only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest.
Oh, so good. The voice actress managed to really make it sound like someone has possessed Happy Frog and is using her voice. I love the delivery on this one. And then of course the lore is chef's kiss.
What did you think of my act? I don't get out much, so you'll have to forgive my enthusiasm.
So I like Orville's voice. It pairs really well with Mr. Hippo, who we'll hear in a bit. And those two characters are friends. You can definitely picture the two of them in the park talking about the ducks. Easy. If I have one gripe, it's that the rest of the Mediocres seem to be themed after the American South. And then we get this posh elephant, and he doesn't really fit them very well. I guess there's a reason he's in a different price bracket than the rest of the band.
I hope you enjoyed the grand finale. Now is my time to shine.
He seems like such a nice guy. I just like Orville.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not going to let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
This one actually starts off a little shaky. The he tried to release you, he tried to release us doesn't have that same, oh, someone is using Orville's voice, but it's not Orville feel to it. But dang, they recover it for the rest of the line. Haunting. Chilling. Mr. Hippo. Alright, now the man of the hour. The real star of the Mediocre Melodies. And maybe of all of Ultimate Custom Night. I'm going to let all 4 of his lines play before I talk about any of them.
My friend, you have met a terrible, terrible demise. But, I don't feel too bad about it. After all, if it weren't from me, it would have just been from someone else, you know? I guess what I'm trying to say is life goes on. Well, for everyone else, life goes on, not for you, you're dead. But that's neither here nor there. It reminds me of one summer day in the park. I was having just a delightful picnic with my good friend Orville. And I said to him, Orville, I have a story. And he said to me, what's the significance of the story? And I said to him, Orville, not every story has to have significance, you know? Sometimes a story is just a story. If you try to read into every little thing and find meaning in everything anyone says, you'll just drive yourself crazy. I had a friend do it once. Wasn't pretty. We talked about it for years. And not only that, but you'll likely end up believing something you shouldn't believe and thinking something you shouldn't think or assuming something you shouldn't assume, you know? Sometimes, I said, a story is just a story. So just be quiet for 1 second of your life and eat your sandwich, okay? Of course, it was only then I realized I'd made sandwiches, and poor Orville was having such difficulty eating it. Elephants have those clumsy hands, you know. Actually, I suppose that's the problem. They don't have hands at all, do they? They're all feet. I couldn't imagine someone asking me to eat a sandwich with my feet. Now, if I recall correctly, there was a bakery nearby. I said to him, Orville, let me go get you some rye bread. Now, I'm unsure if elephants enjoy rye bread, but I assure you that Orville does. Now, this was on a Tuesday, which was good because rye bread was always fresh on Tuesday. They made sourdough bread on Monday and threw it out Wednesday, or rather they sold it at a discount for people wanting to feed the ducks, and then probably at the end of the day, finally, they threw it all out. I don't recall. I do remember a man who would bring his son to the bakery every Wednesday and then go feed the ducks. He would buy all of the sourdough bread. Of course, you know, you're not supposed to feed the ducks sourdough bread at all. It swells up in their stomach and then they all die. At least that's what I've heard. You know, I never saw any ducks die myself, but I did notice a substantial decrease in the duck population over the course of a few years. I just never thought to stop the man and tell him that he was killing the ducks by feeding them sourdough bread. And if you want my opinion on the matter, and I told Orville this as well, if you want to feed ducks, or birds, or any kind for that matter, it's best to buy seed. I mean, when you think about it, breads of any sort don't occur in nature. They don't grow on trees or spring up from the bushes. I don't think birds know what to do with bread. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So I bought Orville some rye bread. What a fine day it was. It seems that you have met your end. What a pity. You know, I don't feel too bad about it, though. After all, if it weren't me, it would have just been one of the others, I guess. I'm honestly just glad to be out of those air ducts. You know, it's not easy for a hippopotamus to fit up there, and not easy to get down either, and not as young as I used to be, as you can see. I used to be able to do all the sorts of things. You're young, you're vibrant, you have that sort of pep in your step. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with one of my good friends, Orville. We were having a nice picnic one day. I believe it was summer. No, perhaps it was... Was it the fall? Yes. It was the fall because the leaves had turned already. But I said to Orville, I says, Orville, I have a story to tell you. And Orville looked at me, kind of odd and said, what's it about? I said to him, not every story has to be about something, Orville. Sometimes a person just wants to talk. Why does everything have to be a story? I said to him. He just looked at me and he said, well, you said you had a story, and he was quite right. I did, in fact. I told him I had a story. I suppose if a person just wants to talk, then it's best to not announce that you're telling a story. Telling a story does come with its own pressures and expectations, I suppose. After all, if you're just talking to a friend, then there's no more expectations than if you were talking into the wind. Words by themselves aren't expected to carry, aren't expected to stick. But if you announce you're telling a story, well then, there'd better be a point to it all, No one wants to sit and listen to someone ramble on and on and on with absolutely no end in sight. So, it's good to be mindful that when you tell someone that you're about to tell a story, that you have something to say. Telling someone that you're going to tell them a story is tantamount to asking them to stop what they're doing and pay attention. You're basically saying, hey, buddy, stop everything. Stop what you're thinking. I have a solution to everything. And, well, I didn't really have any story to tell. In hindsight, I probably just misspoke when I said that I had a story. I think it would have just been better to tell Orville that I wanted to tell him something rather than tell him that I had a story. But even then, it might have put too much importance on the whole thing. Either way, it was quite a nice day. I remember that we were drinking tea. Well, it seems that your journey has ended. Very sorry about that. It was always going to end this way, of course. If it weren't by me, it would have just been by some other, terrible thing. Just, you could not imagine how terrible it would be. Just, I get scared thinking about it. I'm glad it's not me. It reminds me of a time I was speaking to my good friend Orville. We were sitting on a park bench watching the pigeons. I was on the left, he was on the... Oh, wait, was I on the right or left? Anyways, it doesn't matter. We were sitting on there watching the pigeons. And I said to Orville, "Friend, those birds are frozen." And he kind of looked at me like I lost my mind. But I reminded him that it was winter, and often birds will sit in a tree until they freeze. And then they sort of fall to the ground until the sun warms up and they can, move around again. So I said to Orville, "You might as well save those breadcrumbs until the birds thaw, because they can't very well enjoy them in the condition they're in." To which he asked what I meant, and asking what condition the crumbs should be in before he threw them to the birds, assuming that I meant the birds couldn't enjoy the breadcrumbs in the condition that the crumbs were in, when in fact I had meant the birds could not enjoy them in the condition that the birds were in, considering that the birds were frozen. So he took a moment and then threw his last handful onto the ground. I said to him, "Orville, why did you throw the breadcrumbs to the birds when I just told you they're frozen?" To which he responded, "The breadcrumbs are not frozen." Again, misunderstanding my words. I didn't mean to say that the breadcrumbs were frozen when I said I told you they're frozen. I'd been referring to the birds. In hindsight, what I should have said was, and this would make perfect sense, "Why did you throw the breadcrumbs to the birds when the birds are frozen?" He misunderstood upon my correction, stating that he didn't know what else to do with the breadcrumbs, and that perhaps, when the birds thawed, they'd still be able to eat the crumbs. So I said to Orville, and this is what I said to him, I said, "Orville, the birds may be dead." It seems that you have met a horrible demise, my friend, but, these things happen in life. Life goes on. Not for you, obviously. You're dead. But it reminds me of a time I was having a conversation with my friend Orville. We were, where were we? I think we were by the river. We were sitting by the river and watching the fish leap over the falls. And I said to Orville, sometimes I feel like a fish leaping over and over again, always trying to get somewhere, though I don't know where, only to find myself in the jaws of a beast. He, of course, looked at me, surprised, "Have you been in the jaws of a beast, friend?" To which I said, "No, of course not, Orville." I said, No. I simply meant that life can seem like a relentless endeavor to overcome meaningless obstacles, only to meet an equally meaningless fate, regardless of your efforts, regardless of the obstacles you've passed. And Orville, he stood and proceeded to drape me with a picnic cloth, to which I asked him, I said, "Friend, what are you doing?" He looked at me very concerned, really. "I feel like you've gotten too much sun." Indeed, indeed I had. He proceeded to pour me a glass of just ice-cold lemonade. Ooh, you ever mix it with iced tea? You do like a little half lemonade, half... Ooh, it's so... You should try it some... Well, you can't because you're dead. But anyways, so you may be asking yourself, how did I go from sitting by the falls and drinking lemonade to being wedged in the air duct? Not only with Orville, but with an entire assortment of fruity-colored friends. Well, there's really no good answer to that, but perhaps I met a demise of my own at some point, and this is my afterlife or my dream, whatever it might mean. I honestly don't know. Or maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Maybe it doesn't mean anything at all.
I'm gonna make a bold claim here. I think Mr. Hippo's lines are the cheekiest thing Scott put in all of the games so far. That we would listen to 11 cumulative minutes of this animatronic talking, trying to make some semblance of sense of his ramblings, and then to end it off with, maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Oh my gosh, it's just too good. Is he bluffing? Is he double bluffing? Is he saying no lore here, or is he saying no lore here winky face? Ah, man. Here's what I think. And I do try to change my mind in the comments, because I'm not entirely sold on my own theory. I think Mr. Hippo has 3 sort of chunks when he talks, and in any given monologue, he might have some or all of the chunks. His first chunk is the, "You just met a terrible demise. If it wasn't me, it would have been some of the other guys." The second chunk is Scott making a meta commentary on theorizing in FNAF. It's the, "You'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure out every little detail and everything everyone says." Or the, "I told Orville I had a story, but I should have just said that I have something to say because I didn't have a story." Those are the parts of the monologue where Scott is winking at us, the audience, and having fun with the community. He's acknowledging that not every Easter egg or voice line is full of lore importance, and he didn't have the story down from the beginning. I think most people who analyze Mr. Hippo's lines see this as the main message. Especially those who don't believe Dream Theory was ever canon think the line,
Sometimes a story is just a story. If you try to read into every little thing and find meaning in everything anyone says, you'll just drive yourself crazy. Had a friend do it once. Wasn't pretty. We talked about it for years. And not only that, but you'll likely end up believing something you shouldn't believe and thinking something you shouldn't think, or assuming something you shouldn't assume, you know?
is talking specifically about how MatPat and the community held on to Dream Theory. I think it's also likely it could be about how long we believe Phone Guy was the killer, or it could just be talking about theorizing in general. Now the third chunk is his anecdotes about food, ducks, birds, and fish. This is the part where we say, maybe it doesn't mean anything at all, but maybe it does, because he says some things that really make us go, Like they sound like the buzzwords. I remember a man who would bring his son to the bakery and go feed the ducks. I never saw any ducks die myself, but I did notice a substantial decrease in the duck population over the course of a few years. I never thought to stop and tell the man that he was killing the ducks. Does that not make you think of Henry's strange inaction, where he sees what happens to Afton's youngest son, sees children start to go missing, but never thinks to confront his friend? Or how about we were having a picnic? I believe it was the summer, or perhaps it was the fall. Yes, it was the fall. Doesn't that sound like FNAF 2, where your paycheck is dated November, but Phone Guy says it's a summer job? Or how about Orville, the birds are frozen and may be dead, why are you leaving breadcrumbs for them? And then Orville says, I didn't know what else to do, maybe they'll thaw and can still eat them. Doesn't that sound like Mike throwing himself at job after job after job, trying to find the spirits and save his younger brother and sister and set everything right, even though he has no idea how to set a soul free, or if it's even possible? So is that lore? I think so. I do think Mr. Hippo is telling us an allegory for the MCI killings, and Mike continuing to throw himself into a hopeless pursuit of saving the souls. But I don't think it's more than that. I think Scott was poking a little fun when he said, don't look too deep into every detail because you'll drive yourself crazy. Because sometimes the community does get a little too obsessed with how many toes each animatronic has. I don't think it's Scott saying no meaning here, and I certainly don't think it's him saying no meaning anywhere. A good third of FNAF's success as a franchise has always been the hidden meaning and the mystery of trying to figure out the story. And I think there will always be meaning and mystery and little clues that mean a lot. Just at the end of the day, don't forget to drink some lemonade and take a breath. Theorizing isn't everything. I say 29 pages into writing this script. Non-selectables. Ultimate Customite has a few secret characters that you can't select. They're spawned in secretly. RWQFSFAX, man, that's hard to say. And Plush Trap and Nightmare Chica. They have no lines. Bonnet giggles when in your office and giggles after killing you. The mini arenas have 3 variations of laughter. Lolbit has no lines, but does have a little beep with a please stand by, which is kind of a funny addition to the Funtime Foxy gimmick. And then there's Dee Dee.
Uh-oh, how unfortunate. Uh-oh, how unfortunate. I'm gonna do a sneaky thing and throw a new contender in the ring. Uh-oh, how unfortunate. Uh-oh, how unfortunate. I know how much you like to fight, so I'll add a new problem to your night.
In my personal opinion, this is also iconic, but maybe I just watched too many challenge runs. What a musical little gremlin. Every Balloon Boy variant is so mischievous. XOR. This is Dee Dee's first 4 lines reversed. Sufficiently creepy. And finally, Fredbear. Fredbear is an interesting one. Most understand Fredbear to be possessed by the vengeful spirit, and Fredbear has very unique mechanics. If you try to death coin them, which is a game mechanic where you can get rid of one of the characters to make your night easier, instead of getting rid of him, you'll get jump scared and lose. His voice is extremely distorted, but this is what the community has made out. What's odd about these lines is that the mechanics of Fredbear and the story of the mainline games seem to be pointing towards this being the vengeful spirit. You just got jump scared by the vengeful spirit. But they don't have anything particularly interesting to say. I mean, I'm not saying the lines aren't fine or the audio distortion isn't cool, but they're as generic as the lines of any other character, or even less so. The vengeful spirit has more to say through the mediocre melodies than their own animatronic. You know who else had shockingly little to say? Springtrap before he repaired himself into Scraptrap. I don't think Fredbear or Spring Bonnie had voice boxes in animatronic mode. And Afton and the Vengeful Spirit overcome it in very in-character ways. Afton repairs himself using his engineering prowess to free his own vocal cords, while the Vengeful Spirit usurps the voice box and vocal cords of others to communicate. And if the spirit inside of a Fredbear animatronic, aka Golden Freddy, is the one trying to say "it's me" in FNAF 1 and the week before, this is further strengthened, because they keep projecting it into people's minds, or using other people or animatronics to say it. So there's a little micro theory that doesn't change the world, but makes a lot of sense to me. The original 2 Springlock suits didn't have a voice box, and probably played their music over regular speakers in the restaurant. Finally, Easter egg characters. There are a few Easter egg characters that can appear in the sister location office specifically, who have no gameplay mechanics or voices. Bonbon, Biddy Bab, Funtime Freddy, and the security puppet. And finally, the Tangle, the White Rabbit, and the Bounce Pot are FNAF World characters that can appear on your desk at random. There are also a few removed characters. Candy Cadet was removed for withered Chica.
He promised them to never leave them. Now I will tell you a story. But he could not choose. He pieced the remains together.
I love Candy Cadet. Candy, candy, candy. So this really was a crime to remove him, but at least he didn't have any unique lines from Pizza Sim. Adventure 01 was removed for Withered Bonnie, but he had no lines. It's a shame though that there's not more FNAF World representation, but I do love Withered Bonnie, so I'm okay. This concludes the character section of this video. Before we move on to Choi Chiga's high school years and the Bear of Vengeance, I'd like to take a sort of meta look at which animatronics seem to know what's going on. It is the Withereds, the Nightmares, the Puppet, and Old Man Consequences who seem to be aware of where they are. Some of them speak directly of the one you should not have killed, and some mention Afton's torment repeating for eternity. And the mediocre melodies are the ones the Vengeful Spirit speaks through specifically. I don't have some special lore theory here. I just think it's an interesting observation and worth pointing out that the characters that get lore-relevant lines are not entirely random. Certain casts of characters are more aware than others. It seems like Scott chose the creepiest characters, being the Withereds and the Nightmares, to speak about the situation, and chose the goofiest characters, the mediocre melodies, for the Vengeful Spirit to speak through. Alrighty, on to what everyone has been waiting for. Sexy Toy Chica. Yippee! Once again, I'm gonna let the whole cutscene play out before I start the analysis.
Dear Diary, yesterday was so amazing, and I met such a wonderful guy. But I don't think it was meant to last, for my heart belongs to another. He's so amazing and strong and so cute. I've been thinking about him all day, and I think he's really into me too. He's the only one for me. I just know it. And I know just how to get him. Look at that top hat. That amazing top hat. He'll be mine by the end of the day. I just know it. I told him that I needed help with my homework, but once he's there, I'll have him. And once I have him, he'll be mine forever. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong. Dear Diary, yesterday was so amazing, and I met such a wonderful guy. But I don't think it was meant to last, for my heart belongs to another. He's so amazing and strong and so cute. I've been thinking about him all day, and I think he's really into me too. He's the only one for me. I just know it. And I know just how to get him. Look at that untamed fur. That amazing silky sheen. He'll be mine by the end of the day. I just know it. I told him that someone ran over his dog in front of my house. But once he's there, I'll entice him with warm cookies, lure him inside. Invite him inside. And then I'll have him. And once I have him, he'll be mine forever. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong. Dear Diary, yesterday was so amazing, and I met such a wonderful guy. But I don't think it was meant to last, for my heart belongs to another. He's so amazing and strong and so cute. I've been thinking about him all day, and I think he's really into me too. He's the only one for me. I just know it. And I know just how to get him. Look at those ears. Those amazing ears. He'll be mine by the end of the day. I just know it. I told him that my house was on fire. But once he's there, I'll tell him that I threw myself on the flames to put them out. He'll be so impressed that he'll fall for me immediately. And once I have him, he'll be mine forever. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong. Dear Diary, yesterday was so amazing, and I met such a wonderful guy. But I don't think it was meant to last, for my heart belongs to another. He's so amazing and strong and so cute. I've been thinking about him all day, and I think he's really into me too. He's the only one for me. I just know it. And I know just how to get him. Look at those eyes. Those amazing eyes. He'll be mine by the end of the day. I just know it. I told him that I've taken several live hostages at my house. But once he's there, I'll tell him that I let them go because I love him. He'll fall for me immediately. And once I have him, he'll be mine forever. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong. Dear Diary, yesterday was so amazing, and I met such a wonderful guy. But I don't think it was meant to last, for my heart belongs to another. He's so amazing and strong and so cute. I've been thinking about him all day, and I think he's really into me too. He's the only one for me. I just know it. And I know just how to get him. Look at those strings. Those long, beautiful strings. He'll be mine by the end of the day. I just know it. I told him to come over later. That should be enough. And if he doesn't show up, I'll just go to his house. And if he doesn't open the door, I'll just find a window. Chimney's always an option. Or I could set the house on fire and wait for him to run out. Then he could run into my arms. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong. Dear Diary, yesterday was so amazing, and I met such a wonderful guy. But I don't think it was meant to last, for my heart belongs to another. He's so amazing and strong and so cute. I've been thinking about him all day, and I think he's really into me too. He's the only one for me. I just know it. And I know just how to get him. Look at that snout. Looks aren't everything. He'll be mine by the end of the day. I just know it. I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car. Then, when he wakes up, I'll tell him that someone was trying to kidnap and kill him. I don't know, Balloon Boy maybe. And then I'll tell him that I rescued him. He'll fall for me immediately. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong. Dear Diary, things didn't work out as I'd hoped, and once again I'm left with nothing but a broken heart. But tomorrow is another day, and I just know that there's a guy out there that's right for me.
Sexy Toy Chica is William Afton. It's hard to argue. I love this design decision. I think Scott just wanted to make as many people as possible have to say the words Sexy Toy Chica is William Afton, and I'm not mad. In fact, I will say it again. Sexy Toy Chica is William Afton. I think we just watched that whole cutscene for only 2 pieces of important information. Number 1, they tell us loosely how Afton killed his victims. We get cued on this with the second victim, where Toy Chica tricks the wolf by saying someone ran over his dog in front of her house, which is related to how Afton took Susie. He tells her her dead dog is in the safe room at Freddy's and lures her back there. And I think it follows that some of the other victims went in some of the ways described, since there are 6 deaths, the 5 MCI plus Charlie that are counted together. But it's definitely not 1-to-1. After all, Afton told Susie her dog wasn't dead, and obviously the character that Toy Chica is talking to here is some wolf character. There seems to be no correlation between what character Toy Chica is obsessing over and which child it's about. He asks one kid to help Buunny with his homework. He asks another to help put out a fire. He threatens one, saying that he has someone he loves held hostage. He goes to the house of one and breaks through a window, and he kidnaps one in the back of his car. I think that last one is the one that's most likely to represent Charlie, because we know Charlie's death involved the use of a car. Number 2, there is a secret 7th victim. We see Toy Chica take 6 characters. Freddy, the wolf, Toy Bonnie, Mangle, the puppet, and Pig Patch. But we also see Foxy's hook in her bag on the day she takes Freddy, so there's a 7th victim who is implied but not shown. Is this one of Afton's children? We know he lets the crying child die by neglecting to parent him and Mike, and we know he's pretty directly responsible for the death of Elizabeth and the scooping of Mike, even if he didn't intend either. Or is it perhaps a 7th victim who was killed around the time of the MCI? As you know if you watched my last video, I think Scott is going to introduce us to some new victim who died first in the timeline to make sense of Henry's "a wound first inflicted on me" line in Pizzeria Simulator. But for now, I think the safest answer is that this is Elizabeth. But I am holding out for a 7th victim revealed in Secret of the Mimic. I do have to say one other thing about Toy Chica's high school years, and that's that the lockers are weird, and I don't know why. The lockers are numbered 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, presumably 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Locker 10 has what might be a dent or a faded heart with a small hole. Locker 11 has some writing I can't quite make out. Locker 16 has 2 notes, a heart, and a hand unit. Locker 17 has a flower that looks to me like the 3 flowers on the screen of FNAF 4 and a Let's Eat. 18 has a note or a photo. 20 has a note or a photo and a heart scratched in. 21 has a cupcake scratched in. 22 has another note and a sticker of exotic butters. This is Candy in post. I was looking at a more blurry version of this locker scene when I was creating this video, and so I missed that on locker 18 there's also a note that said Eggs was here, as in Eggs Benedict. I think this is probably not significant. Like, I can't think of what the number 17 could have to do with the FNAF 4 flowers. But the locker numbers going up 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 is weird. I had wondered if this was maybe confirming that the DCI, or the killings in FNAF 2, did take place. So it would be 1, 2, 3 MCI kids, then 2 Allure, just like we know of from the newspapers, to make it 5, and then 5 more killings for the DCI, and then Charlie, and then just keeps counting up for the victims of Circus Baby and the Fun Times. But I can't decide if that's a reach, and I need to take Mr. Hippo's advice and stop looking for lore everywhere. Alright, last but certainly not least, Bear of Vengeance.
それで鳥を撃ったか？それとも捕まえようとしただろうか？笑いカワセミの服を着た笑いカワセミの隣に座った私は何をしたのか？私は何をしたのか全く覚えていない。それは傘とゴムのズボンと何か関係があったようだが、私はその夜 結構な笑いカワセミのシチューを楽しんだことを覚えている。池に浮かぶことが素晴らしい瞑想法であることを発見した。問題は厄介な学校の子供たちだ。奴らは水中に潜って私を引っ張ったり、蛇を池の中に投げたり、蛇のようなものを投げたり、怒っていた。奴らは大きなカゴにあらゆる蛇を集めて、はぁ！笑いカワセミは事故ではなかった。私は死ぬ日までそのバカなクマをトロールするつもりだ。それではまた我が人生と目的の状態について何が言えるか。目的はあるのか？私はそれを持っていたのか？それは深い謎だ。怒りの道場に座って、誰かここから下ろしてくれ！解決できないと思う。それは自ら呼ぶもの。私はそれを何と呼ぶべきかと思った。慣れなければならないと思う。ここのアンタゴニストになるつもりなら、私は少なくとも私の隠れ家の名前を持たなければならない。私は自分の時間と何か関係があるのか？私は最終的に一つのものを得た。私が去ることができるかどうか聞いたところ、彼らは私を目覚めさせた。私は水面に戻り、泳いで家に帰ったが、結果は出なかった。あなたは決して祖先を怒らせることはない。今私は肩の後ろにこの口を持っている。夕べ、空に浮かぶ夢を見た。その後まっすぐ立って星の海に落ち、まるで下に見えないベッドがあるように着陸した。それは暗闇があるまで私を運んだ。目が覚めるとこれは死後のビジョンであると思えた。私は何が来るのかを見ていた。私の祖先が笑いカワセミは事故ではなかった。私は死ぬ日までそのバカなクマをトロールするつもりだ。それではまた我が人生と目的の状態について何が言えるか。目的はあるのか？私はそれを持っていたのか？それは深い謎だ。怒りの道場に座って、誰かここから下ろしてくれ！解決できないと思う。それは自ら呼ぶもの。私はそれを何と呼ぶべきかと思った。慣れなければならないと思う。ここのアンタゴニストになるつもりなら、私は少なくとも私の隠れ家の名前を持たなければならない。私は自分の時間と何か関係があるのか？それで鳥を撃ったか？それとも捕まえようとしただろうか。笑いカワセミの服を着た笑いカワセミの隣に座った私は何をしたのか。私は何をしたのか全く覚えていない。それは傘とゴムのズボンと何か関係があったようだが、私はその夜結構な笑いカワセミのシチューを楽しんだことを覚えている。池に浮かぶことが素晴らしい瞑想法であることを発見した。問題は厄介な学校の子供たちだ。奴らは水中に潜って私を引っ張ったり、蛇を池の中に投げたり、蛇のようなものを投げたり、怒っていた。奴らは大きなカゴにあらゆる蛇を集めて、とても辛く、体も痛むので深い集中が必要になるだろう。 私はそれが嫌だ。私は毛布が欲しい。だから私は毛布を取る。私は誰が言っているか気にしない。もし私が私と一緒に毛布を持っていたいなら、私は自分自身を誰かここから下ろしてくれ。氷の上のブリトーのように振り回すことができる。それが私がやることだ。私はしばしば昼寝するだけだが、私はまだそこで仲介することができる。彼はあまりにも多くのものを持っていた。それは本当だが、それは彼がとても悪臭を目覚めさせた理由ではない。バスケットをぶつけたと思うか？彼らはものすごく怒っていて、水に放り投げられると同時に彼らは私のために来る。ひどい匂いも。私が最後に過ごした時、私はそこに沈んだ。私がそこにいる間、私はビジョンを持っていたと思う。私は私の先祖にあった。彼らは生きていた時代がどんなに優れていたのか。そして最近は子供たちが権威を尊重せず、ビデオゲームに明け暮れ、ポテトチップスを食べる様子を教えてくれた。尊敬も規律もなし。私は彼らに不平を言うのをやめるように言った。私は人生において先祖のビジョンを探してきた。そしてついに解決できないと思う。それは自ら呼ぶもの。私はそれを何と呼ぶべきかと思った。慣れなければならないと思う。ここのアンタゴニストになるつもりなら、私は少なくとも私の隠れ家の名前を持たなければならない。私は自分の時間と何か関係があるのか？誰かいないか？私はどうしてもトイレに行かなきゃいけないんだ。私にはキャラクター開発の余地がなく、私の隠れ家という名は少し物を追加するためにできることのほんの一部だ。だから私は一緒に行った。怒りの道場。それは私にはとても恐ろしく聞こえる。しかし私は何を知っている？私は池に浮かぶのが私は最終的に一つのものを得た。私が去ることができるかどうか聞いたところ、彼らは私を目覚めさせた。私は水面に戻り、泳いで家に帰ったが、結果は出なかった。あなたは決して祖先を怒らせることはない。今私は肩の後ろにこの口を持っている。夕べ空に浮かぶ夢を見た。その後まっすぐ立って星の海に落ち、まるで下に見えないベッドがあるように着陸した。それは暗闇があるまで私を運んだ。目が覚めるとこれは死後のビジョンであると思えた。私は何が来るのかを見ていた。私の祖先が瞑想するのにとてもいい環境であることを発見した。しかし私は誓ってもいい。そのバカなクマは普通最初にそこに着く。それは私のせいではない。クマは早く目を覚ます。本質的にだ。私が最初にそこに着く唯一の時期は真冬だが。誰かいないか？私はどうしてもトイレに行かなきゃいけないんだ。彼は冬眠していると思うし、とにかく池が凍りついているので誰かが気にする。私はちょうど氷の上に横になり、私の下で凍った魚を見つめている。 凍った池の上に寝るのは瞑想には理想的だという人もいるだろう。深いものに集中するようになるからだ。それは暗闇があるまで私を運んだ。目が覚めるとこれは死後のビジョンであると思えた。私は何が来るのかを見ていた。私の祖先が前に行った場所を見た。しかし私の周りの人は言った。いや、私はちょうどあまりにも多くの道場のジュースを持っていたと言った。そして窓の下で、そして下のアルパカの飲み物のトラフに落ちた。ひどい匂いだった。
Guys, I'm gonna be so real. I did not really want to cover Bear Vengeance because I don't have anything smart to say about it. But it would be sort of a bummer since I've covered literally everything else. And also, trying to make myself look smart on YouTube probably isn't the end-all be-all of having a FNAF theory channel, so I'll go ahead and put out some popular interpretation of these cutscenes and my own silly little opinion. So theory number 1 that feels the most obvious to me is that the bear is the bite victim, the fox is Mike, and Mangle is either no one or Elizabeth. There's a lot of little references to the Afton family. The crying child is tied to bears by plush Fredbear being his best friend, being killed by the Fredbear animatronic, and by this poster that we think may represent the Afton family. Mike is Foxy Bro and is depicted in FNAF 4 as always wearing a foxy mask. The bear attacks on his birthday, and the crying child's birthday is the bite of 83, so that's a pretty big day. The fox keeps defeating the bear. The bear says he will attack during the fox's favorite TV show, and we know Mike loves TV. Elizabeth has a Mangle toy in her room. And the battle between the bear and the fox tends to result in very sibling-like shenanigans. The bear has to do the fox's chores, or laundry, or making breakfast, and the fox is mostly interested in poking fun at the bear and humiliating him rather than doing any actual damage, which lines up with Mike's actions towards the crying child in FNAF 4. If Mike is Foxy and the crying child is Freddy, this cutscene gives us a glimpse into what their sibling rivalry looked like before the crying child died. The next interpretation is that it represents Afton and the vengeful spirit dueling it out, with Mangle being once again Elizabeth as Afton's henchman. The vengeful spirit has connections to Fredbear because most think that they possess the Golden Freddy suit. Afton doesn't have any particular connection to Foxy, but he doesn't have one to sexy toy Chica, so I guess that's not really a prerequisite. In this interpretation, the rivalry between the two represents the vengeful spirit's endless pursuit of revenge on Afton, trying to kill him and enact punishment on him. The third interpretation is that this represents Henry as the bear and Afton as the fox again. Henry's claim on Freddy is that he was the one who wore the Fredbear suit, and in this interpretation, this represents Henry trying to find William after he finds out that William is a killer. All of these interpretations are good, I think, and I find the Mike, crying child, Elizabeth triad to be the most likely. I have one issue with every one of these interpretations. None of them seem to tell us anything new. We knew Mike bullied and humiliated the crying child. If we didn't know the vengeful spirit had it out for Afton, we definitely knew after all these other voice lines in Ultimate Custom Night. And of course, we knew Henry has sought out William because he has that full epic monologue about it.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive—
Haha, you thought I might play the whole thing. There are two main elements of the show that we bang our heads against the wall trying to find meaning in. The first is the punishment the bear is subjected to. Freddy attacks, gets captured, and is set free on the condition that he must make the fox breakfast for 7 days. Freddy attacks, loses, and must wear a fruit hat for 30 days. Freddy attacks, loses, and must do Foxy's laundry for a week. He must decorate his tree once a year for Christmas and play Santa to children. And then the fox flees the land, but Freddy vows to follow him wherever he goes next. It should be noted that similar to Toy Chica's high school years, there is an implication that we are jumping in the middle of the story. Freddy was obliged to take care of a frog companion after his first loss, which is not shown on screen. The second thing that changes cutscene to cutscene is Freddy's reason for thinking his attack will work. Because it's his own birthday, because it's during the fox's favorite TV show, because he'll play the flute to put the fox to sleep, because he snuck a smelly fish into his robe, or because he plans to sneak down his chimney. I have a tin hat theory here, but do take it with a grain of salt. Like I said, I don't feel like I've got very smart things to say about the Bear of Vengeance. Freddy's reasons for attacking seem to me to line up with a potential chronological chronological order of the FNAF games through sister location. The first attack is on the bear's birthday, which could easily represent the FNAF 4 crying child's birthday tragedy, so that's FNAF 4. The second one takes place during the fox's favorite show. With the fox often representing Mike, the TV show is then The Immortal and the Restless of sister location. But here it starts to get more tricky, because the third cutscene he wants to put the fox to sleep with a flute. But putting someone to sleep with a tune is the main mechanic of FNAF 2 with the puppet. Then next up, Freddy has snuck a smelly fish into Foxy's robe. In both FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, the player is fired for odor, but we've already used FNAF 2, so this one would map onto FNAF 1. And lastly, Freddy will sneak down Foxy's chimney, which would be FNAF 3, because chimney is fire, the FNAF 3 fire. So this would make the potential chronological order of the FNAF games FNAF 4, sister location, FNAF 2, FNAF 1, and FNAF 3. This is a pretty likely order for the games. I think the only one that might be controversial is sister location, because people put that in different places in their timelines. So did I solve the Bear of Vengeance? Not at all, because we have yet to talk about the real audio of the cutscenes. That's right, the audio in the Bear of Vengeance does not actually say what's being said in the subtitles. Now, I speak no Japanese. Zero Japanese. So I rely entirely on the translation of the Comfy Corner, which I will link below. As they explain in their video, this audio is actually randomized, so you might hear one clip over the first cutscene or you might hear it over the fourth. By the accounts of the Comfy Corner and those in their comments section, the audio doesn't make a lot of grammatical sense. Many words are missing to make the language flow, which is why it sounds strange. I have attempted to put the scenes in some order and I will read them aloud for you. Foxy scene. I don't think it's solvable. That is something I call personally. I thought about what I should call it. I think that if it can't become it, it won't become it. If I intend to be the antagonist here, at the very least, I must have a name for my hideout. Do I have something with my own time? I have no room for character development, and what my hideout is named is only one small part of what I can add. That's why I went with the Dojo of Anger. It sounds very terrifying to me. What do I know? I realize that floating in a pond is a good place to meditate, but I can't use it. That dumb bear usually gets there first. It's not my fault. Bears wake up earlier. It's the law. The one season I get there first is midwinter. I think that is when he is hibernating. He doesn't care anyway because the pond is frozen. I lie down straight upon the ice and stare at the frozen fish beneath me. There must be some people who think sleeping on a frozen pond is perfect for meditating. You can concentrate on deeper things. It was so painful and my body hurts. Deep concentration must be necessary. I hate this. I want a blanket. That's why I'll take a blanket, not caring about what anyone else will say. If I had a blanket, I can roll myself up like a burrito on top of the ice. This is what I'm going to do. I could often just take naps, but I would still meditate. He had too many things, it's true, but that's not why he woke up with a bad odor. Bear scene. I am eating cold breakfast here once again. I don't like cornflakes. They're pretty good, but they cut up the insides of my mouth and I regret it later. However, I believe that it's a necessary method to learn concentration and order for warriors. Even if you cut up your mouth with cornflakes and you hurt your mouth more by eating it once again. In order to not make it worse, you have to eat soft foods afterwards. I curse my life and my weak mouth. I remember a day like this long ago. I was sitting under the same tree. It was time for my morning meditation. However, that annoying bird, I will never forget it. I don't think it's a bird native to this area. It was probably a laughing kookaburra. Geez, those things are a big nuisance. When I tossed a number of pebbles at it, they came back to me with precise aim. The next morning, I quickly climbed the tree. The laughing kookaburra awoke. It looked like a big laughing kingfisher, clad in down and feathers. It was brilliant. The dumb bird came and perched next to me, but I didn't think that was the end of my plan yet. So I shot the bird? Or did I perhaps try to catch it, standing next to a laughing kookaburra dressed as a laughing kingfisher? What did I do? I don't remember what I did. I feel like it had something to do with an umbrella and elasticated waist trousers, but I certainly remember enjoying a laughing kingfisher stew when it was done. Fox scene. Huh, the laughing kingfisher wasn't an accident. I intend to troll that stupid bear until I die. Well then, what can I say about my life and the state of my goals? Is there a goal? Do I have one? That's a deep mystery, sitting upon a dojo of anger. Bear scene. I realized that floating in a pond is a good way to meditate. The problem was the troublesome kids at school. They angrily swam down into the water and pulled on me, tossed snakes into the pond, and tossed snake-like things. Did they gather all sorts of snakes into a big basket and hit it with a basketball, do you think? They were really angry, and they simultaneously both tossed me into the water and came to help me. It smelt terrible. The last time I sank, I got sunk there. When I was there, I think I got a vision. I met with my ancestors. They taught me that their generation was far better off, and that kids these days don't respect their elders and spend all day and night on video games, eating potato chips. They have no respect or lawfulness. I told them to stop talking about unfairness. All my life, I had searched for visions of my ancestors, and now, finally, in the end, I have obtained one thing. When I asked if I could take my leave, they made me wake up. I returned to the water's surface and swam home, but didn't achieve a result. You should never make the ancestors angry. Right now, I have a mouth behind my shoulder. Last night, I dreamt of floating in space. Right after that, I stood up straight and fell into an ocean of stars, landing as if there was an invisible bed underneath. That carried me through the darkness. When I woke up, I thought this was a vision of after death. I was watching what was coming. I saw the place my ancestors had mentioned before, but the people around me said no. They told me I was just holding on to the juice of too many dojos. And then I fell under the window and into the alpaca's drinking trough. It smelt terrible. Fox scene. I actually, for the first time in a while, used the paper I gathered from the horse's pen and painstakingly created an alpaca costume. I actually formerly had a plan to have several troublesome noisemakers outside of that window, but they fell into the valley of drinking. Apparently, it was a birthday. So naturally, I dragged him out of the trough and rolled him around in the alpaca droppings for a while. It was so much fun. I posted the photos online, but I need to show them to my friends first. I can't just show the photos anyone. There's so many weirdos out there. Mangle line. Someone, let me down from here. Is there anyone there? I really have to go to the bathroom. There. It has been read. But what does it mean? Well, like Foxy says in the very first line, I don't think it's solvable.
Connection terminated.
An absolutely enormous thank you if you watched this video all the way through. And thank you so very much for 5,000 subscribers. You guys keep watching these and leaving the absolute best comments too, ranging from theories and paragraphs to just being super funny. I read every single one of my comments, and when I'm 30 pages deep script writing, they really give me the motivation to keep going. I'm trying to recognize the regulars in my comments, so if you don't have anything you want to say in particular but still want to let me know that you were here, you can comment like, hi, or Don Mimic, or candy, 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 or I always come back, or, you know, really anything. And you'll know I've read your comment if I give it a heart. Also, I'm very early in the learning curve of how to edit and post on YouTube, so if you've got constructive criticism, definitely let me know. A lot of you guys told me I don't need to censor words like kill and murder in my subtitles, which is really nice to know because, man, they come up a lot in FNAF theorizing. Okay, long outro, but 5,000 subscribers! I have been Candy Bunny, and I have candy all day. Candy, candy, candy.